Excellent. Well, thanks all for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us. We will be doing, starting off with Rich from the Department of Agriculture. He is the Plant Health Certification Program Manager, and he'll be sharing some important information about nursery registration, same with seed, possibly, I'm not sure, but so sharing good information that districts need to know, kind of with the logistics on that side. And then after that, we'll be doing a roundtable discussion, hearing from district managers or districts across the state about what's worked well for their programs, ins and outs, and that kind of stuff. And so with that being said, I will go ahead and turn it over to Rich. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll be sure to make sure that your questions get answered. So thanks, Rich.
Thank you. All right, it's good to be here. I'm going to try to figure out how to share my screen. We all use so many different ones that it can get a little confusing. Which one is a little different? So this is our website. Can everybody see this?
Yes, we can.
Great. So I tried to make it easy this year for renewing your nursery and your seed licenses, and hopefully everybody here has a seed license or a nursery license, depending on what you are distributing to the public. The state of Colorado, the Nursery Act basically says that anyone who is intending to distribute nursery stock, even if it's not for sale, needs to have a license. And so for conservation districts, if this license doesn't cost anything except about 15 minutes of your time to go online and to do. And I think it's a great thing for people to have. I know some people feel like, why do I need a license? But it really, for you guys that are out there in the industry, it helps us ensure that there's a minimum standard of quality that's being passed along to the consumers. And the other thing that happens with that is we can make sure that we're doing our due diligence to prevent invasive pests from being introduced into our environment and into our state. Seedlings for Conservation is a great program. When I was an extension agent out in Fort Morgan, we used to participate in the program with CSU Forestry Service, and a lot of farmers and ranchers really partook of that because of the benefits of having a windbreak and things like that. As you know, out there on the Eastern Plains, the Dust Bowl was a big piece of the history, so those things are really important. But with invasive pests like the Japanese beetle and the spotted lanternfly and other invasive pests that are on our radar, we want to make sure that we aren't bringing them into the state or spreading them through the state, and that we're protecting our natural resources. So that's why we require the license, and so that way we know that what you're bringing in is clean. And unfortunately, I have gotten information about some people who participate in these seedling programs, these conservation programs, bringing in nursery stock from other states east of Colorado where we know they have invasive pests. So if you choose to do that, that's totally your business, but that probably means that you're going to get inspected and you would have to pay for that inspection fee. So if you want to bring them in to Colorado, you can bring them in from the west, but I would prefer you not bring them in from the east. And if at all possible, bring them in from our local nurseries who do these types of programs. So that's one of the reasons that we do the licensing. And like I said, for you guys as conservation districts, it does not cost anything. It's about 15 minutes of your time. And if you go to the nursery homepage, it's ag.colorado.gov/plants/nursery. It's really easy. You see this big red button right here on the screen, and you just click on that and it takes you to a login. And if you've done this before, you'll be able to log in and you'll just go through the process of registering and you'll answer your basic questions. You'll click on that you are basically a nonprofit or a government entity, and it will not charge you for anything. And this year, what we've made it all online, so we're not doing paper registrations anymore. So that's a big change. And you'll just say, are you importing from another state? And if you are, if it is from the east, that's where it's going to flag it for us to look at your application and say, we might need to come out on the day that you get your delivery and inspect them just to make sure there are no Japanese beetle or spotted lanternfly or Asian longhorn beetle, any of those kind of invasive pests, or snails, things like that. So that is what this is for. And then once you're done filling out your information, and I know some people have done this, and if you're new and it's your first time doing it and you're like, I have no idea, we have created an email. So hopefully, is there anybody here that did not get that email on how to renew or register? It hopefully was pretty well done. So you can just go through the steps that are in that email. And if you have questions, you can email us or call us and we can walk you through the process. If you've never done it before, there is a fillable PDF that you can do on our website. If you're new, this will take you all through that right here on this one. And this is the application for nursery registration if you're new. So if you've never done that, you've never done it before, and this is your first time hearing about this requirement, don't worry about it. I don't want you to get in trouble, but you can just fill that out and you can send it back to us and we'll get you registered. Again, there's no cost. So that's basically that in a nutshell. I'll come up here to the seed. If you do some, I know there are some conservation districts that will do seed, and it's the same exact thing. There's a renew your seed license now, and you go on and it's going to take you to that same login screen. It's going to look like that. And you'll just type in your information, your contact information, your email, your address, and then if you're like a retail seed dealer, I would imagine that most of you are going to fall under that category. You're not probably processing or doing any kind of seed labeling or custom seed. You're not cleaning or anything like that. So that's pretty easy to do. And again, if you have questions, you can go ahead and contact us. The thing to keep in mind, we have the nursery registration and your license expires on January 31st of every year. So we just passed that, or December 31st of every year. So we just passed that registration deadline for nursery. So if you didn't do it yet, it's expired from last year, but your seed license doesn't expire until the end of February. So you have until the end of next month to renew that. Ideally, you can go in there and you can do both at the same time. You just basically renew it, put it in your shopping cart, and then just check out at the end. And it's really, really easy. So you don't have to remember, okay, when does one expire and when does the next one expire? And you got to log in twice and do it. But, and I really appreciate that. You guys have that link directly to the page. But if you ever have questions, I really encourage you to just reach out to us, call us or email us. Our email is really easy to remember. It's CDA_nursery@state.co.us. And if you're on our page, we have email links in several places right here on the screen. Email us, and we also have instructions. So if you ever like, I don't know what I'm doing, you can even figure out how to sign your stuff electronically. We try to make it step-by-step for everybody. And it's really straightforward to do it. If you ever forget, just call us, email us, and we're here to help. So 10-minute review. I just wanted to know if there are any questions. I see any questions out there?
Yeah. Oh,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Laura. I was just going to say, yeah, hop in there.
I was just curious. We did log in and renew, and when I go through the website, it says that we are registered, but I've received a couple emails now saying that our entity, the Eagle County Conservation District specifically, isn't registered. And so I emailed somebody to verify whether we were or weren't, because the website says we are. And I haven't received a response back. Should I email that CDA nursery email, or
yes.
am I probably
if your email,
just a generic response?
Yes, so email the nursery. If you go to just the generic one, that's for all of CDA, and I have no idea where those go when it goes to the big black hole that is the general email box. Email us. I will tell you that you probably are registered. The problem is we started using Constant Contact to keep that information going out.
Got it.
And between the registration database and the email going out, there's a 2-week lag between the data that we can pull on who's registered and the email going out. So if you registered within the 2 weeks prior to receiving that email, that's probably why you got it.
Okay, I can't remember really when I registered, but I will verify with somebody. Thank you.
Yeah, and let me give you Brian's phone number. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. But Brian's phone number, I'll give you his cell phone. He's really helpful and can answer that instantly. Or Kelly, I'll give you both of their phone numbers.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, there goes my dog.
So let's see. Brian's phone number is 303-929-8776. That's his cell phone. And let me get Kelly's right here. I'm doing it on my computer, not my cell phone. Her phone number is, oh, let's see her phone. She's not listed in the directory. She's too new. Sorry about that. So just call Brian, and he's really, really helpful with answering those kind of questions, and he can get that information looked up right away. But I think I remember seeing Eagle County did register, and it's just like, I do apologize. We're using some new technology, and there's that lag between the registration database and what has actually happened. It takes about 2 weeks for it to move through the system.
Excellent. Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much. I'll go ahead and give him a call today.
All right. Thanks, Laura.
All right, other questions while we have Rich online, valuable tool. Okay, well, if anything else comes up, we'll definitely share Brian's information and Rich's too, just in case. And then after this, I'll also be sure to send any of the links that were shared, just so folks have access to those. Going forward, we could just enter the kind of the roundtable tree sale discussion. And so what districts, if the districts want to share what their program looks like, valuable tools or resources, things that have worked for them, we'll kind of just popcorn back and forth. And I think this is a small enough group that we don't have to like raise hands or do any of that. But if you want to, feel free to go ahead and raise your hand. But if it's okay, I will go ahead and start with Tanya. If you want to go first, Tanya, and kind of kick us off.
All righty. Well, thank you. I'm fairly new. Last year was our first year in doing trees, my first year in doing tree sales in Yuma County. So obviously still learning a lot, but one of the first things that I did when I started was I built a website. So we actually do sell the trees on our website as well. And about 35% of all of our sales last year were online. And I know this year we've had a lot of people already contacting us wanting to know when they were going to be live. I mean, the great thing about the website is you can simply click hide, and they don't see them. And then when we're ready to do the sales and have the pricing and whatever, turn it on, and then people can order. I know when we had our roundtable at the Employees Association in regards to trees, people were saying that it was really expensive to have the card reader because you only really use it for tree sales. And through our website, I did ours through Wix, but it automatically allows credit card charges and you don't have to pay for a swiper or anything. You just pay a percent. I think it's like 1.5%. and it's covered, which is cheaper than what you would pay for swiping and whatever. So the fee was already built in. So that was also kind of an added bonus. So if people did want to do a credit card payment, we just directed them to our website. One of the things, just because we had huge sales last year, I more than doubled our tree sales from what they had previously had. And so another kind of key thing as a side note, but I mean, I'm one person and can only do so much. So I reached out to the local FFA chapters. And so we had our office is in Ray. And so as the truck came in with all the trees, because we do, not only do we do the seedlings and plugs and bare root, we also do bigger trees. So they come in on a semi. So we had, you know, the 1 gallon pots, 5 gallon pots, and we actually had some great big 45 gallon, and we're never ever doing that again because they're way too big and way too heavy, and we had to get a forklift to lift them. That's not ever happening again. That was a newbie mistake, but don't do it. It's too heavy. But we had the FFA kids come, and they were more than eager to come help unload trees and kind of organize everything. And then the day of the sales, I had the orders lined out, and we scheduled pickup times. I actually set pickup times. And so I kind of knew based on how many trees. So we would try to, in the slot times, we would have one person that had a lot, like for an equip producer that had, you know, 1,000 trees. I kind of knew that we couldn't have as many people in that time slot, but I had 6 to 8 produced, or 6 to 8 customers pick up on the hour. So the FFA kids that were helping were able to pull the orders for the next group, because it would be crazy for about the first half hour, 45 minutes, but then they were able to regroup, pull the next orders for the people as they came. So we kind of got in a groove that the orders for that next group of people were pulled by the time that they got there. And it gave us an opportunity to check and make sure that the FFA kids were pulling the right trees and stuff too. Obviously, there's things that we learned that we need to really double check because they weren't reading the right pot sizes or sizes of trees. But all in all, it was very successful. So, and we had all, well, 2 of the 3 FFA chapters actually participate, and then we just made a donation to their chapters for helping us. But that was, I mean, they were really honestly a godsend with as many trees as we had. And then we didn't receive all the big trees, so we had to push our tree sales pickup back a week. So then they came and helped me water trees and take care of trees for a week too. So, but yeah, that was, I mean, that's kind of what we did, and it did work really well. So I don't know, whatever questions you have, I can try to answer as well.
We did have one question, and this is open to the group. Ashley asked, for those that are new, is there a list of nurseries that the districts work with? And Nikki may have some insight on this too.
So as far as a central list for the statewide, the districts historically have worked with the Forest Service, but there have been a lot of changes and stuff going on with the Forest Service that many districts have had to source outside. Like Tanya said, different locations, some out of state. As far as having a like statewide list, that's a great idea. We don't have one currently, and it really is just depending on the district. Some I know on the Front Range, they actually contact local smaller nurseries and partner with them on either rain barrels or tree seedlings that way too. So I think it's all across the board, but that's a great suggestion to gather a centralized list for folks.
I would want to just follow up with some of that. The larger trees, anything that's larger than 7 inches, we do have to inspect for Japanese beetle. So Tanya, I know you're out in Yuma County, and so you actually fall outside of the internal Japanese beetle quarantine. So if you're along the Front Range, basically Fort Collins down to Pueblo, those counties are inside the Japanese beetle quarantine. So you're not allowed to take stuff from those Front Range counties outside that area. And we just recently had I don't know how many of you have heard the news, but we just recently found Japanese beetle over in Grand Junction. And that's problematic for two reasons. One, we could wind up losing our peach crop and our grape industry over there because of it. And the other thing is, right now, the way Colorado is classified as partially infested, we want to try to still facilitate the export of our nursery stock outside the state of Colorado. But with the news of it being over in Grand Junction, all of a sudden now we can't send our stuff down to New Mexico and we can't ship it over to Utah because those states are like, no, you have too many places with Japanese beetle. And so it's really a big thing if you're living outside that quarantine area, not to import from an area like the Front Range, where we do have a very active infestation of Japanese beetle. And that's that larger nursery stock. So not only is it a logistics issue and difficult to unload off the truck, but it also means that now you are subject to that Japanese beetle inspection. So if you're going to do any nursery stock, Tanya, that's large, I would strongly encourage you to find a nursery that's maybe out in Weld County or Morgan County or anywhere out east and outside the Japanese beetle quarantine, so that you can say, we're outside the Japanese beetle quarantine and we're not bringing it in from an active quarantine area.
Ours actually came from Idaho. So
okay, that's actually good news to hear.
Yeah, those came from Idaho. I actually, and it's good to know, because I was trying to find, just to keep the business in Colorado, I was trying to find a nursery to work with along the Front Range, and it was kind of cumbersome. So unfortunately for this year, we were not. So they're going to come from Idaho again. I think they kind of pull from Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, but yeah, it's a big nursery conglomerate that pulls from multiple nurseries in order to fill our orders. So yeah, they did not. They came from way far away. That's why when the semi came, it was a big deal to offload trees.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind. If you're bringing in from outside, if you're outside the quarantine area, you want to keep yourself Japanese beetle free, and other pests too. So those are some things to consider.
Great, that's good information. We just have a question from Mariah of, what does an annual schedule look like for folks who do an annual sale? So steps kind of leading up to, probably months ahead of time, maybe a few weeks, and then steps to prepare like the day before. That's a really good question. And so if anyone on can kind of speak to the schedule of things, that would be great.
I can, if there's someone else that wants to speak, please do so. So our order form, which is also available, I see Nikki just posted our website. So we have an order form that is also sent out in our newsletter that's going to be going out shortly. So we have our order form. I guess pre to this, I actually started ordering trees for our district. I had the majority of our trees ordered by October 15th, pre-ordered. As far as some nurseries don't actually start taking orders, but you can pre-order, and then they do basically after they fill theirs for their state, then they do yours. So I had our pine, because we do the evergreen trees are seedlings, so they come in a plug, and then we also do the shrubs, and I had those pre-ordered. And then the big trees, same thing. I kind of send them a list. This is what we did, and I have historical data of what we've sold in the past, so I kind of calculate and pre-order everything just so that I know that we're going to have the trees, because when you put out an order form, then I know how many I've pre-ordered. So I have a very scary gargantuan spreadsheet, and I'm like the spreadsheet person. And so it has all our trees, it has how many, and then it keeps account. So when I know when I'm out of those trees, I turn it off on our website. And then I know that we can't sell any more of those specific trees, or I try to get more. So by the middle of October, last year, because it was my first year, I think I had everything ordered by the end of December, but I had to work a little bit harder to find everything. Then obviously you get your order form together. If you have a website, we went through, our district does an upcharge. So again, another spreadsheet, but I have the hard cost of the trees, put that in the spreadsheet. It calculates, it has an estimated freight rate based on the previous year. So it covers paying for the freight, does our upcharge, and then it gives me a cost. So I go through and update all that pricing, so I know that we're not going to lose money on anything. And then our website went live, like December 16th, I think is when our website went live. Our newsletter is running a little bit late. The goal is to have it out like the first or second week of January. And then at that point, orders come in. I schedule for us, specifically like the Idaho site, when I ordered from Idaho to get our plugs, I scheduled like April 10th, because when you order from specific nurseries, they want to know when you want to receive them, and they ship them UPS. And so I kind of try for the middle of April, so April 10th. So as we're getting close to trees coming and I have my orders together, then I start contacting, and I actually personally called, I think our list last year was like 109 people. And ironically, I actually spoke to all 109 people and scheduled pickup times for them. And then we had to push it back a week. So I called them all again and rescheduled, but scheduled pickup times, just because historically here, the NRCS staff was telling me the horrors of the day that they're supposed to pick up. They have lines going clear down the street. And I'm like, oh my God, we cannot have the chaos of that. We have to have more controlled. And so had the schedule set up. It was probably 2 weeks before trees came in, and then trees, and then pickups. I mean, that's pretty much, but the big thing is to have trees reserved early, just so you're sure that you have what your customers want, or, you know, and we actually do trees. Plus I have added perennials and also some fruit stuff as well. We do fruit trees, and then like rhubarb, strawberries, raspberries, some grapes, some different things, just because out here there's not really any nurseries in Yuma County. So just kind of offering a variety of things. And so far this year, my biggest thing is fruit trees and fruit. I mean, it changes every year, but that's what I've been selling the most of right now. And perennial flowers. Who knew?
Every year I feel like folks throw you for a loop. You just never know sometimes. Well, thank you, Tanya. That's excellent information about kind of like the timeline and scheduling, and what you all do with Yuma County Conservation District. I kind of want to punt it over to Mariah with El Paso County. You dropped a comment in the chat box, but I was wondering if you could kind of just expand on what you all do.
Hi, let me change my screens around a little bit real quick. I'm going to change to my computer and hang up here on my phone. Hi.
Hello.
Okay. Hi. We yikes. El Paso County Conservation District does a daily sale. We have 365 days a year where people can go online to our form, and then the form has evergreens, roses, fruits, shade, ornamental grasses, perennials, a couple different things they can pick from, and they fill out the form and they come into my office here and they pay me. We've just now added an online payment option. And I certify the form that says, yep, they've paid us. They take their certificate or their receipt over to Hardy Nursery, just up the road a little bit, and they get they pick out the ones they want, and then Harding bills us later. So where Harding might charge wholesale for a $10 plant, my customer pays $12.50, and Harding will bill me for $10. So we keep $2.50 of that sale, and it works out okay. It's a tough thing though, seasonally. I'll have a customer that wants to come in right now and buy a whole lot of really amazing trees, and they go up to the nursery and there's nothing available for them. So it's a kind of a hard seasonal thing. But in the middle of summer, it works great. People seem to like it quite a bit, and we get a nice little bit amount of money, just enough to keep us advertising for the next one.
Great, thank you for sharing. Any questions for kind of Mariah about the daily sales? That's kind of different than doing the annual sales. So a different kind of way to think about it.
Tax has become an issue. Little side note on that one. We get a pass through from the nursery. So we end up paying taxes. I quarterly have to log in and report the taxes that we received and pay those. So side note for that.
Hey, I have a question for Tanya. Tanya, who's your nursery outlet in Idaho, if you don't mind sharing?
It's called the Tree Source.
The Tree Source.
Let me grab my folder. And I can give you the guy's phone number if you would like. Sorry. I have my whole huge file of all of my tree stuff. His name is Kirk Barclay, Barclay. And his number is 801-301-4420.
Nice, thank you so much.
And it's actually Tree Source or Trees Northwest. It depends on, I don't know. His email is one and his company, I think they're synonymous.
Okay.
But yeah, that's who we get big trees from. And you can basically tell them what you want. They have a list on their website, but they will give you a wholesale when you call. Just tell him you're with the Conservation District in Colorado, and he'll send you a list of their wholesale pricing. But you can pretty well dictate any tree that's on, like they have their main nursery list. So if there's some obscure something that someone wants, he'll get it for the most part. We struggle and I mean, honestly, we do struggle with him a little bit just because, like I said, with freight, because they come on a big semi. And so like Burlington works with them, and so does the Yuma Conservation District. So it was a partnered semi load. So we had a full semi load, and it's not just trees sitting on the bottom of the trailer. They stack them to the ceiling. So I mean, it's a full load. But after we received our trees, we were expecting, I want to say like in the neighborhood of 1,200 trees, and we were missing 700 after our first load. And so what happened is they were loading the trucks in the dark, I guess. This is what we were told. They're loading the trucks in the dark, and some of the guys lost some of the sheets. So only part of our order got loaded. So that's why we had to push our sales back. And then they had to send us a second semi, and we still didn't get some of the trees, but yeah, it's just challenging because it's such volume. So you kind of have to I literally was sitting, we use the fish hatchery, as silly as that sounds out here. They have a huge Quonset building. So it was so windy last spring. So we had the trees in the fish hatchery. So as the FFA kids were unloading trees, I was sitting on a stool doing hashtags, marking every tree. And the FFA kids had to walk past me and let me see what they were unloading so that we could keep track of exactly what we had received to make sure that we had received what we were supposed to get. So, I mean, and that part of that is just that there was so many, but The trees are really good. And I've had several people come in that want to order more, and they said the quality was great. They lost very few. And in spite of the drought, I mean, they were really thrilled with the trees. So
Thank you.
We
mhm.
get our trees from the same place, and we had one full semi, so it was able to come directly to us. So then that wasn't a problem. But then the ones that were with Tanya's on another truck, we had a couple hundred that were just kind of like out and about for a while. But the quality from them is very good. So it was a slight inconvenience, but not, I don't know, not a deal breaker for sure, because they are great quality trees. So I don't know.
Well, it
Thank
sounds
you.
like Kirk from Idaho may be getting some more calls. So, but thanks for sharing that information. And Julie, while you kind of have the floor, do you want to go ahead and kind of give a overview of what Double L does with the tree program?
Well, ours is annually a kind of quiet. So this year's there's a lot of changes this year. So it's I don't know. We're just trying some new things. Traditionally, we had mailed out order forms to like 8,000 or 9,000 people just kind of in this area with the like every door direct mailing type of thing. And that has worked for 40 plus years. I don't know, 30 plus years. But just the cost of paper, the cost of mail, the cost of all of those things, because we don't mark our trees up a lot, so we don't make like an exponential amount of money off of the tree. So we chose to mail out a postcard that has a QR code and then information to get to our website. Last year, many of our orders, even after we mailed out the paper order form, just came in on our website anyway. So this year we kind of tried to make a shift towards mostly online ordering, but we do have the option for people to call for a paper order form who just really have to do it that way. So I quietly opened the store in the end of December, but then just kind of like really launched it on January 1st. And I guess we would probably, we also sell survival accessories for drip. And then the windbreak, so weed barrier and all of that stuff. So I would expect the whole program, it wraps up on March 31st, and then we do a delivery of seedlings in May, and then our large trees will be kind of end of April. We unload them into a warehouse that's here in town, and we have one day, and people just get in line at 8 o'clock in the morning and line the street, and we kind of have runners who go down and put their order number on their car, so as they pull up, they're just going through. I wish I had a picture I could show you because it gets a little wild, but the cafe loves it because people stop in there all day long. And then I don't know, I would expect that we probably would expect for the whole program to be around $130,000 to $150,000 worth of sales this year. And I don't know, that's it. Any questions?
Any questions for Julie? I love that you guys kind of are incorporating the QR codes, and I'm sure that saves quite a bit of money in mailing too, from transitioning from sending out all those via mail, because I mean that's huge.
Yeah, well, and I guess my when I pitched this to my board, it was just like, you know, we're selling trees for conservation and then we're sending out 9,000 pieces of paper. So like, maybe we can get rid of some of that. Some of our demographic is definitely older though. So, you know, we're kind of, as far as everyday district business, we still have to kind of try to make sure that the older people are getting left behind. But as far as tree sales, kind of a broader area, many of the people are probably would prefer to buy online than to get a piece of paper in the mail. And several years ago, I got the piece of paper in the mail. I didn't even know what it was, and I admittedly threw it away. And I that was before I even knew what double L conservation district was. So I don't know. We'll see
Well,
how it goes.
Yeah, it's good to have both options for sure. So that's great. Any other questions for Julie?
No, I don't have questions. I just have some comments from the Stone Age.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did the district from 2000 to 2004, and then I went to the Feds NRCS until 2017 when I retired. But at any rate, back in the early 2000s, FSA had a program that paid 90% to the producers to plant shelter belts and windbreaks. And you talk about a mess. At the time, I didn't know any better because I needed the job. And long story short, our best year in 2003, we bought 300,110 trees and shrubs from the Forest Service nursery in Fort Collins. And you talk about truck after truck,
Yeah.
we'd have, I believe that year, 8 trucks. We finally started getting 2 semi-loads every 2 weeks. We had to rent a refrigerator trailer to put the shrubs in because they started leafing out after about 2 or 3 weeks. And I remember those days with somewhat unfond memories. So now I don't sell a tree unless it has a home. And we only do about 2,000 to 3,000 a year, just as a public service to the people. We send them to Ray or Morgan or Burlington or wherever. Our trees also come out of Idaho via NRD in Sydney, Nebraska. So, and then we also we order some out of the Towner Nursery in North Dakota, just because we can't get them. But, we worked a lot with the Forest Service Nursery in Fort Collins, and then things kind of went down about 3-4 years ago. So we stopped doing that. And basically, we used to have a good time, we thought. But there was times that we would have trees, they would come the first part of April, and we'd have that refrigerator trailer going for 2.5 months, just try to keep those shrubs alive. And of that 300,000, FSA got to where they had to get back into standards and specs. We did 65,000 replants by hand one spring. Every club in school, every 4-H club, sports club, and there was crews from all over the country planting trees by hand. So, but if you ever come to Phillips County, you can see that there are many more trees now than there were 20 years ago. So that's our story of gloom and doom or fame or however you want to see it. So I'm glad that we have some neighboring people that are kind of taking up the slack. So I'm happy to hear that.
That's a lot of trees, but I'm all about putting kids to work. So that's a good option, Joe. And then we did have a question from George about kind of if Rich could give an update about the CSU nursery. And Rich shared that he's not exactly sure what's happening there. He does know that they have such a bad Japanese beetle problem. We no longer accepting trapping data from them and require them to treat. And I think we all are kind of aware that they've had quite a bit of turnover. And so I think we're pretty anxiously awaiting to see what happens there. And so let's see. Heather, I know.
Kayla?
Oh yeah, go ahead, George.
Yeah, let me just add to that. As the people on this call know, that there was a lot of concern over the quality of trees that were coming out of the nursery in Fort Collins for various reasons. Staffing was an issue, money was an issue, but we've had talks with the manager there, Scott Goodwin, and I'm pretty impressed with what I call a total rebuild of their program. And he told us that it might take a few years to really get it back up to where they want it to be, but it's going in the right direction. So I think the districts need to continue to support the State Forest Service efforts there. And but it might take a year or two before we really get back up to where we were, 5-10 years ago. Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for the update. That's good information to know too. Okay, I'm also, so we're getting kind of close on time, but if Heather, do you kind of want to share what Douglas does in some about your
Sure.
tree program?
Yeah, we do a tree program. It used to be just trees. Now it's trees and perennials and grasses and shrubs and those kinds of things. We also sell seed year round. The plant sale is just an annual plant sale. It's a pre-sale. So you buy the plants in the winter or spring, and then they are delivered to us in Castle Rock in the spring, and folks pick them up on one day. During COVID, we did the scheduling of people coming in and going so we could sort of just control the crowd. But we find it pretty fun to have those crowds. We have a big space with a huge parking lot at the fairgrounds. So we kind of make it a festival sort of a deal. So it's around Earth Day. So we do a lot of Earth Day stuff. We have the Forest Service comes and they're available for people to talk to. We also have master gardeners on tap for folks to talk to, and they help us with plants for next year. The master gardeners do anyway, about what grows well here, what's a good native plant in our drought conditions and so on. So we lean on our partners a lot. We are not selling seedling trees this year. We just went with our larger trees and our perennials and grasses and shrubs because of the Forest Service sort of meltdown there. But we looked at one canopy. I don't know if anyone else has looked at that. They just started up, I think in Fort Collins or Loveland or somewhere. And Josh Stoles, who was with the Forest Service, started that business, and there he's selling small tubes. We didn't go with them just because of the delivery looked like a snafu for us. We had to get a truck and go pick up the stuff and bring it down, and that seemed like too big of a hassle. So that's what we're doing. We have a website that we sell things through. We have converted all of our paper folks into website people. They just come see me at the office or call me on the phone, and we do it over the phone that way. That's all I got. Any questions?
I have a question. So again, I'm with Eagle County Conservation District, and this year we didn't do trees, but we did do grasses, and we were more successful than I anticipated, which is great news. With that being said, we had our website is designed, who we work with is GoDaddy. And one of our board members was a little hesitant about setting up payments through our website for security purposes. And so we had our order form on our website, which I then transferred to an Excel spreadsheet, and which I then sent out payment through PayPal. And it worked, but it was not very efficient time-wise. There was just a lot of moving data from one order form to the spreadsheet, and then spreadsheet through PayPal. So I'm just kind of curious, for those that have said that they have their payments via their website and their order forms via their website, have they had any security issues with hackers, and if not, what portal are they using, or what web provider are they using?
Well, I can speak to that a little bit. We have not had any hacker problems. We use WooCommerce on our website, which I wouldn't have chosen. It wasn't my decision. It was before I came on board. And Woo is nice, but it's expensive. And it goes through our First Bank. There's a lot of fees involved, so we had to up our tree prices to cover those credit card fees. My preference would have been Square. It's very simple to use. It talks to most websites, but Mariah might have some more information on that because she had an interesting situation down there.
So El Paso County moved over to SiteGround recently. I can't say enough incredible things about SiteGround. It's an incredible source. It's similar to GoDaddy. They manage for us our domain name as well as our website. And our website is a WordPress site. I'm really comfortable with WordPress, very familiar with it and using it. With the way that I have things set up and the plugins that are available, I have no security concerns at all. The issue I'm running into is my predecessor used Yahoo as an email, and we've now recently moved over to our email on our own domain, which is incredible and awesome. But Yahoo is horrible for the spam of the Square and the PayPal and the Amazon Pay. And there's, for every one legitimate message that comes through the Yahoo account for an e-commerce transaction, there's probably 100 spam emails that come through. It's really frustrating. So moving over to our domain has increased my confidence that we're going to get away from that. SiteGround is incredible for customer support and service. I can call them and say, hey, I've got a concern about this transaction, or I'm not sure that this is secure, and they're really good. So I like that. There is a WooCommerce plugin for our website. I'm not using that yet. I actually have opted for a different store that lets me use Stripe, PayPal, Amazon Pay, Google Pay. There's a couple I can use instead. The freemium version lets you only use 1 or 2 of those. The paid version, which is not too much money, I think it's less than like 60 for an annual subscription, lets you use multiple. So I'm really confident about the security on that, but it helps that we've gone through SiteGround for the support and that all the tools are available through our WordPress website as plugins that are either freemium or free. So, and I don't have those concerns anymore about payment.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Yeah. When summer kicks in and we're collecting orders, it's just the amount of time and effort that I had to put in and transferring all that information and manually reaching out, not the reaching out to the customers more so, but manually entering in all of those orders and sending out the payments was a lot more tedious than I had time to afford. So I'm just kind of curious and so with Square, can you use that with any website domain, or does that have to also be a separate system like PayPal is?
My experience is it ties into your website. I don't know if it works with every platform, but you could check that out. They have pretty good customer service. But Nikki was going to mention SIPA, I think.
Yeah. So especially for all of you new folks, SIPA is the statewide internet portal authority for Colorado, and all of the conservation districts are considered local governments for free SIPA services. And one of those is payment processing, and they have options to go through them. I know a couple of the districts that unfortunately aren't on this call because I don't think they even do tree sales use them. Other conservation districts have actually moved their website to them because they will host your website for free on the colorado.gov domain. The plug I'm going to put in for that, because there's pluses and minuses. They use a Drupal system, so you have to learn that. But it's the security is there. And the other piece is we'll have a webinar on it later, so I don't want to go too much into it, but conservation districts will have to adhere to the accessibility law that passed last year, just like Colorado. State will, including us, on updating all of our websites and pieces. So if you're on the domain, they already have a lot of that built in versus you having to update everything on your website. So, and the last plug for SIPA is they have a lot of grants that they send out, but they also will host, a lot of you talk about domain emails and that kind of stuff. They will host your domains for you, as well as your domain email, and it's through Gmail. But that way your district manager, your board members could all have district emails through their system, and it's like $40 a year or something like that. So anyways, it's just a security feature that is an option for conservation districts.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really good to know. Thank you for sharing that, Nikki. And we had a question from Ashley. For those that sell trees, is it mainly just offering as a service, or is it more of a money maker for your district? And so I think we could kind of just do a quick roundtable for that, because we are getting a little close on time, but if districts kind of want to chime in on that.
For Double L, the survival accessories are probably more where our money is made, not so much on the trees themselves. So the trees are a service, but of course we do have to have some revenue generated. So that's kind of more on the survival accessory part of it.
Our tree sales support our operating budget to about 80%.
Ours is a big push for our budget as well. And like Double L, we also sell all of the drip supplies because there's really no one out here that does. So we have drip supplies, landscape fabric. And then we also worked with, we're not going to, it's just so difficult, but we did actually also have custom tree planters that would, we would coordinate with them to help plant trees. But we're not doing that any longer. We have a list of people that will plant trees, and we can just give that list out now, because it was really difficult last year to coordinate with that. So, but yeah, ours is to help raise funds. So.
I have a question for you guys. Have you or do you, some of you do other plants and stuff too, and perennials or tulips? Tanya has wonderful flowers too. Bulbs. Have you thought about, for more of like your urban folks, on like the garden in a box type stuff? Yep, Mariah. Yeah. And I'm only asking because I ordered one last year, but my sister is starting it up from her conservation district perspective. So I'm helping her set it up in a different approach in Wyoming. But basically they didn't want to subcontract with Garden. I think it's Resource Central, because there's heavy fees involved, even though they would do all the coordinating. So she's actually just working with a local nursery and designing like 3 landscapes with a grad student, buying the plants and selling those as like kits to her producers that live in the city in Wyoming. So it's a slightly different approach than what most of us deal with windbreaks and all that kind of stuff, but it's just another idea, another project.
And it looks like, Mariah, if you want to kind of expand a little bit, I know you just dropped it in the chat, sorry.
Sure.
But if you want to speak to that kind of capacity, and we have about 2 minutes left, because I do want to be mindful about people's schedules. But yeah, if you want to hop in there, Mariah.
But really quickly, we have a large section of more suburban and even some urban type landowners. And one of the things that I looked at as one of those owners is I have a really small area. And so I'd love to be able to say, hey, you know what? I need a garden that's already done for me. Give me the planogram. Let me come one day and pick up my plants, and you tell me where to put them. I'll take care of that. But it's for something like pollinators. Or I have a really cruddy side of my house that's north facing that doesn't get as much sun or is colder, or I have poor soil over in this area, or I have a hillside over here. So working with our master gardeners to be able to give us guidance on, oh, well, you know what, that would be the best, this would be the best planogram for that. Or over here, let's talk about more pollinators. So it's just been really nice, customizable kind of an idea. We're hopeful to launch that in spring. And that's going to also be likely through Harding Nursery, where I go to Harding and I say, okay, Mr. Master Gardener, you have $100 and figure it out and tell me what you think. And if they can tell me, yeah, it's doable, or no, it's not, we need more money, and just work on the different unique ones. And then the landowner can say, oh yeah, I have 250 square feet, or I have 950 square feet, and what you got? Super excited about that. The other thing I wanted to add is El Paso County doesn't use the trees so much as a way to fund, but we do very well with the native grass seed mixes, as well as a cover crop mix. That's where we tend to make a little bit more money. Neither one of those are a big source, but just a little bit to help supplement what we do.
Great, thank you for expanding on that, Mariah. That's awesome. It kind of makes me want to order one of those like little planter boxes too. So any last questions? I'll kind of open it for the floor real quick. I know folks are hopping off, but any other questions or kind of comments we want to throw out there before we wrap up? Okay, excellent. Well, thank you all. I so appreciate you joining us today and kind of sharing what your districts do. It's always kind of nice to kind of have that feedback, or just see what other folks are doing across the state and what's working well for them. After this, I will be sure to send out any links that Rich had shared before. And so that being said, we'll kind of wrap up, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in.